me, quality assurance analyst with Smile Identity. I'm joining you from Nigeria.
From Nigeria. Thank you so much. The next person here is Akin. Akin, kindly unmute yourself and introduce yourself to us.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
I'm Akin. Yes, I'm a freelancing front-end developer / UI UX. And
Akin, you are a developer and you are a UX developer. So I'm just curious, why did you join?
I've always wanted to know more about software testing, like just curious about it.
Oh, nice to have you on board. Finn follower, kindly introduce yourself, please. Welcome.
Hi, good morning. Good afternoon, sorry. My name is Finn. I'm joining from Nigeria. I'm a front-end developer. I've always been excited about software testing, although I don't have a lot of information, so that's why I'm here.
This is nice to have developers in this meeting today. Yeah, that's great. Nice to have you on board, Faye. The next person here is, let me go back up. Okay, John Peter, welcome. Kindly introduce yourself to us, please. Hello, John, can you hear me?
As you rightly said. Yes, I can hear you.
Okay.
Hi. Yeah, basically, so I'm also from Nigeria here too, but I'm also a front-end developer also, just out of curiosity. So I was like, know more about or work as a developer.
Wow, great, great, great. So we have 3 developers already. I've not actually met QA in Nigeria. Okay, we'll get there. So we still have a lot of people here. So I'll just try to be very fast with this. Benjamin, can you introduce yourself, please? Hello, Benjamin. I don't know if you can hear us, but while we wait for Benjamin, the guy with Galaxy S10, I don't know what your name is, but can you go ahead and introduce yourself? Good afternoon. Sorry? Well, we can't hear you actually. Joel, can you go ahead? Or Joe, oh, sorry. Can you go ahead, please? Joe, can you hear us? Dean, can you go ahead, please?
I think it's not, probably still muted.
Yeah. But sorry, guys, just know that you can unmute yourself if you want to speak, and you can mute yourself back if you are not speaking. So feel free to check up the unmute button when you are asked to talk. Yeah, so Mo Adisa, can you go ahead, please? Mo Adisa.
Hello.
Hi.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My name is Akim Balogun.
Okay. Where are you joining us from?
My phone is from Lagos, Nigeria.
From Lagos, Nigeria. Okay. Yeah, that's great. We have Enchio. Enchu, I don't know if that's correct. Can you go ahead to introduce yourself, please? Can't hear me as well, or they can't hear me. All right, so while we are waiting for other people to join, I don't know if you know you can hear me clearly and you're available to talk, and I've not mentioned your name, please just signify in the chat section and for us to like welcome you and introduce yourself. Yeah, so among us here today, we have some other professionals in the community, from ANST community. We have Kolapo Bankole, we have Toby Fagwangwe, we have Sheifumi, and I would just like them to just introduce themselves before we continue. So Kolapo, you can go ahead, please.
Okay. All right. Hi guys. So my name is Kolapo. I work as a QA with Softcom, and yeah, I'm part of the ANST executive body. So it's good to have all you guys here.
Oh, thank you very much. It's great to have you here too, Kolapo. Sheifumi, please, can you go ahead?
Hi guys, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I'm Sheifumi Olawiye, a QA tester at Kunga. Also part of the executives for ANST. Yeah, glad to have you guys here. I'm glad to be here too.
Thank you so much, Shei. Nice to have you on board. Yeah, Toby, can you go ahead, please?
Yeah, sure. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Agbongbelu Toby, and I'm the QA tester in Summit Computing Limited. So I'll be part of today's speakers in Beginner's Guide to Software Testing, and I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Toby.
Thank you, Toby.
Yeah, nice to have you. Nice to have you all. My name is Ibroke Ekini. I'm a software tester with InterSwitch, and I'm in Nigeria. That's all. All right, so before the break, I was telling you guys about ANST. I've talked to you guys about it being a professional body here in Nigeria. We have so many other testing communities and all, but ANST happens to be like a professional body and also like a community where you get to know and meet more people, information, access to tools, access to people, access to resources, and of course, job opportunities and like. So yeah, we host as many programs as we can, but due to the lockdown, most of our meetings has been online. And I'm sure for those that have been hosting program as well, that is the way they have been doing that. And just like I mentioned, we have WhatsApp groups, we have Telegram groups, but professionally, we have like a full-blown Slack group where we have different channels you can join. If you want to start a career totally, there's a channel for you. If you want to focus on API testing, automation, or UI, there are so many channels for you to join. There are so many people for you to ask questions on. It's a combination of both professionals and beginners. So don't be overwhelmed if you see some professional questions people are asking, and don't feel it's demeaning when you see a beginner's question. So it's a combination. However, there are groups for each one of them, and we also have like a general group. So that's a brief of it. And today is just like one of every other event we used to have. Basically, what we do is we try as much as we can to communicate with the community on different ideas that we have noticed that a lot of people want to get information on. And sometimes, you know, we share to learn. You understand? So today we are going to be talking about, for a beginner person, you know, you don't know, like, how do you even dive into testing? What are the things you need to know for you to grow in testing, right? What are your career goals like? How can you grow? What is even a career in Nigeria that is even relevant like that? just any question you can think of asking as a beginner in software testing. I'm very sure the speakers today will be very much answerable to those questions. If you have any question, please take down your notepad, jot them down. At the end of each session or each speaker, we give them the opportunity to, we give you the opportunity to ask questions and all. So without any other thing, Kolapo will be starting with us, followed by Toby, and lastly by myself. And we are going to try as much as possible not to take so much of your time, but to make sure that, yes, you get everything you need to know as a beginner in software testing. So, Kolapo, will you be sharing your screen with the slide for you to begin with?
Yeah, I'll be sharing my screen. So just enable me to share screen.
Okay. Yeah, so you should be able to share now. Can you try it again?
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, so I can share screen now.
Yeah.
All right.
So it's coming up. Yeah, it's coming up. We can't see it yet. Okay, so while we are waiting for Kolapo screen to come up, so those of you that just joined, welcome. Thank you for joining in. We have not really gone so far, so you have not missed a lot. It's just the introduction session we have done. So Kolapo will be starting with the first presentation very soon. If you have any question, kindly jot them down. And of course, you can jot them in the comment section in the Zoom app. Just go to the chat section and drop your questions there. So that's it. I think we have 30 people now. So we are still waiting for Kolapo.
All right, guys. So I'm sharing my screen now.
Okay.
All right. All right, guys. Welcome to this session. We're going to try to keep it very short and precise. Basically, the purpose of this is, for someone that is, beginning in testing, right? How do you begin testing? How do you start in your testing career? And that's basically what we are here to do. And basically, we are ANST. We are the software testing body in Nigeria. And it's a non-profit where, people with like minds just come together and we try to promote the art of software testing in Nigeria. And that's basically what we're into, right? So you can check out our website. At the end of the session, you can follow us on Twitter and every other social media as well. So we'll be sharing that for you to be able to continue your journey with us, right? So I'll just dive right in, right? I'm going to talk about testing. So I know there are some people here that are already into software testing. So this might just be a way for you to refresh some of the things that you've learned a while back, right? So it just needs to be like a refresher course for you guys. But for the sake of people that are new here, right? So testing is the activities that you take to provide the stakeholders in a software project, right? An assessment of the quality of that software, right? So whenever you want to develop any application, any piece of software, right, it has to go through series of testing. And basically what you're doing as a tester is you're helping them to assure the quality of that software. So it can either be a good thing, good quality or bad quality, right? The same way you would do probably check before you buy something, you probably check whether it's good quality or bad quality, right? That's the essence of the software tester in a project, right? To be able to assure them and say that, oh, okay, based on all the tests that I've run, I believe this particular product is of good quality, or this particular product is of bad quality, and these are the reasons why, right? So that is basically what software testing is. So being able to provide stakeholders, people that are interested, probably customers, and probably the company itself that is building that software and that wants to use it to run their business. So that is what software tester does. So the role is, so that is just a summarized example of what they do. So some of the questions, right, that software testers try to answer, right, for stakeholders is, okay, why should I care? Why should I believe about what you're saying, or what are you really saying about the products and all that? So basically, what software testing does is it sets to answer questions that people might have about a product, to basically ensure that that product is of good quality. So the objectives of testing that we have, so these are the things that testing is made for, right? So testing is made for, like the process of testing, right, is for you to be able to identify defects in a product, right? So if you're a user, right, and you probably download an app for the first time, and then by the time you as a user, you're going through the application and then you see something that is wrong, or let's say you were checking your bank application, for example, and then you see that your balance is maybe in negative and you probably should have maybe 50K in the account, right? You'll be the first person to show up at the bank, or Corona period, probably just send them an email or call them and say, okay, what happened to my money, right? So in order to prevent that, a tester is meant to come before the product hits the hands of the customer to be able to identify the defects in that software. And then the tester, one of the objectives of testing is to improve the quality of the software products, right? So how do you improve the quality? So in a software development cycle, right, how people start from when they think about the product to when it's actually in the hands of the customer, right? During that process, you need to make sure that testing comes in, and testing answers the question of
Kolapo, we can't hear you. Or am I the only one?
No, you're not.
No,
No,
you're not.
lost him for a minute.
So I guess it's his network. I'm sure he'll be back soon. Let us give him a minute to get back. Okay, so I think he will try to reconnect.
Yeah, sorry, my network went off for a bit there.
All right, you can reshare your screen, please.
All right, thanks. Okay, all right. Yeah, so, all right. So basically, not everybody has insight into what exactly is happening in the product. So software testing aims to provide information to stakeholders, right? And to determine whether the software is ready for the release, right? Is the software ready to go into the customers? And that's some of the questions that, software testing helps companies to answer for their product. So in order to ensure quality, so all these things that software testing aims to do is deeply rooted in quality assessments, being able to check the quality of that particular product you're trying to, put out there. Right? Before it gets into the customer's hands, you already know, you are aware of, okay, there's this issue that is happening and we're doing this to fix it. So software testing aims to identify all those things and then improve the quality of that software. All right, so why would you go into software testing, or why is software testing required? So basically, software testing is required for you to be able to see the defects that were made during the development process, right? So there are a lot of ways that errors can come into the development of any application. It could come in maybe the developer not understanding the requirements and doing something else, right? Or in the case of maybe someone has a different understanding of what the requirement is meant to be. So they probably did something else, or maybe the requirements do not fully state what the product should do. So people did not really understand, what should happen, and then something happens, and then a bug is, introduced into the software, or there are edge cases that were not covered. So software testing helps to point out defects and errors that were made during development. So it ensures that the customer finds your organization reliable, because the point of contact for a lot of people these days is the kind of applications that you put out there, right? For a software company, the applications that you put out there is what a lot of people will see you as, right? So if they see your application has not been reliable, it automatically transfers to the value of your company as a brand, right? And then software testing is also important to ensure that the application should not result in any failures, because it can be very expensive. And this is so true. We're still going to go into some of the very popular defects that have caused very, very major failures for companies, right? So we don't want customers to open our app and be seeing, for a bank now, for example, you don't want them to open the application and be seeing, someone else's balance as their balance, or they can't even see their balance at all. Or, when they send money, money doesn't go. So those kind of things are things that software testing tries to ensure that it doesn't happen. So it tries to reduce the failure rates in the application. And then software testing is required for you to stay in business. So quality is very important for your business to stay profitable, right? So these are like historic bugs that has happened over time, right? So you see the first one where in December of 2015, there was a glitch that happened that caused more than 3,200 US prisoners to be released early, right? So what happened there was the software calculates a prisoner's sentence depending on good or bad behavior, and then it's mistakenly, accepted over 3,000 prisoners to be released early. So you can imagine, the cost of trying to get all those prisoners back, and the kind of embarrassment that is going to be for the company that is that it happens to. So that was one of the things that can happen when a bug enters your application. All right, and the second one is, okay, one of the biggest American market makers for stock struggles to stay afloat after a software bug triggered a $440 million loss. $440 million, well, not naira, $440 million loss in just 30 minutes. So you can imagine, losing as a company $440 million in just 30 minutes, right? So
Yeah.
that is one of the things that testing is very crucial, right? And you can't quantify many of these kind of issues, right, until it actually happens. So you can see the other ones too, right? You can't really quantify it until it happens. You think that, oh, okay, let's just release it out there. But then if something bad happens, you can't really quantify, what the loss would be until it happens. So that's why it's just better to, do the due diligence and make sure like the application is properly tested and before it's being released, right? So these are some of the examples of losses that have happened, due to a bug slipping into production, right? And these are things that companies actually learn from, and this is one of the reasons why testing is important. So these are some of the questions that testing answers that you can't really answer during maybe development, or the existing that developers do where, after they write the code, other developers will, help them to review the code and just tell them that, okay, you need to change this syntax. These are some of the things that they can't really answer, without testing, right? They don't know whether it works as expected and whether it meets the user's requirements, right? And is it actually like based on users' expectations? Do the users like it, right? You can't tell that from just, looking at the code. You won't know whether the users would like it, right? And then is it compatible with the other systems that you're going to be putting that particular product with? So is it compatible? If it's going to be integrated with other systems, is it compatible, right? How does it perform? Then how does this scale when you have more users, right? You can see a code, you can test something and you say, oh, it works fine for just one person, right? But what happens when you put 150 people on it, right? Does it start misbehaving? Will people start having, loss of data and stuff like that? So those are things that, testing helps you to discover. And so we just jump right into the career paths that you have in testing, right? This is not exhaustive, right? So you just have you entering as a test executor, right? So that's like the beginner level. So let's think about this as, rather than think about it as number of years of experience in testing, right? Let's just look at it as number of experience, right? The worth of your experience. So at the beginning level, right, what you're basically doing is you're majorly executing tests, right? You're observing test cases, and then you're writing bugs. So that's like the very basic level of testing, right? That's something that anybody can do. I can just pick up an application and just say, okay, I want to, write about, okay, I want to check this application, and then just report any bugs that I see, right? That's the beginning level where you just execute tests. And then you now move to the second level where you're now writing tests, right? You're designing, how the test should be, and, you're designing test techniques, and, you're managing what are the metrics, that how many issues were passed, how many failed, metrics of each release. So that's basically the level of test designer, right? Then when you get to the role of senior tester, right, you're more specialized in testing techniques, right? And also in business sector. So as a senior tester, you understand what the business is expecting. And at the same time, you understand, what testing is meant to do. So in that way, it helps you when you are developing tests, right? As a senior tester, you understand what matters to the business, right? So that helps you in driving, what to test, and, what kind of test to run. Then a technical tester is a higher level where, as a technical tester, right, you're specialized in automation. And basically what automation is a set of tools that helps you to run tests, and it basically just makes your life easier. So it helps you to run tests that you'd need to run and rerun, right? So your automation just basically helps you to do all those things that are easily repeatable. So that's the level of, technical tester. You're doing things like performance testing, security testing, or, at the API level, you're automating APIs and UIs and stuff like that. And then as a test manager, you're coordinating the test team, right? You're driving the test direction, and you're also coordinating them, right? You're managing their strategies, how they plan tests and how they actually execute tests. So that's a test manager level where you're managing a team of testers and you're driving their growth and direction. So these are just the roles in testing. So it just basically speaks to, at each experience level, how would you quantify yourself? So as you progress, you know that, oh, okay, I'm at this level now because I can do these things, right? So it's more about skills and not necessarily number of years, right? So you shouldn't really be discouraged about, oh, okay, maybe I don't have any experience, or I have little experience, right? You should be more confident in the skills you have, right? Because it's the skills you have that puts you on a level. And that's that's something that is very common in tech, right? If you've seen people that, probably have maybe 3 years experience and are leading a team, right? It's because maybe they were exposed to the right kind of tools, they were exposed to the right kind of trainings, and then the right kind of work, right? They've been able to gain very vast experience, and then based on, that level of experience they have in a very short time, they're able to advance quickly. So just think about it more on the skill level. That's what makes you advance majorly in tech. All right, so we're going to be going deep into testing a bit now. So I'll be talking about, majorly we have two separate types of testing, right? You have the functional testing and then the non-functional testing. it's easy to just look at testing and just say, oh, okay, testing is testing, right? It's you assuring the quality of an application. But we want to just dive deeper, right? And as we dive deeper, I want you guys to stay with me. This is not the end of all of this. Afterwards, you'll be able to ask your questions, and from there, we'll be able to give more directions to people that need it, right? At whatever level you are. So this is just diving deep into what testing is, right? So we have functional testing, and then we'll have non-functional testing. So for functional testing, you have things like unit testing, smoke testing, sanity, integration, interface, and those basically speak to, what are the functionalities of the products, right? What are the different things that you can see on these products, right? If I press this now, what happens? If I press this, what happens? If I press this, what happens? That basically speaks to, the functionalities of the product. And then when it comes to non-functional testings, right? So it just means that, okay, your application, right? How does it behave in specific environments, right? That is what non-functional tests, tries to speak to. It tries to speak to how does this application react in different, sort of environment. Not necessarily, when you're pressing it and then it's doing stuff, right? You could be pressing it and, it's working, right? But then when you take it from that particular environment and then you put it to, let's say, another region or another location, right? How does it behave in that particular set of scenarios? So just see it like that, as functional testing deals with how the application actually works, while non-functional testing deals with things like, while non-functional testing deals with, how the application behaves under different conditions. So let me just speak to, for functional testing, let me just speak to smoke testing, right? So smoke testing is something I encourage people to do, right? Even if you're just a beginner in testing. And what smoke testing is whenever someone tells you like there's a fire somewhere, what was the first thing that you guys will see?
Smoke.
Thank you. So definitely you'll see smoke. So if someone tells you like, oh, there's fire somewhere, right? You definitely see smoke. So that's the concept of this one. So what this one just tries to do with this in testing is, you have an application, right? And you're seeing the application for probably the first time. You probably heard about it, and then you just want to check, is there any fire inside this application? Literally, you're trying to check, is there any fire inside this application, right? So you're looking for smoke. And if you're looking for smoke, you won't say, okay, let me go and, open the wardrobe and say, okay, what's inside the wardrobe? Let's imagine like a scenario in a house. You're trying to find fire in a house. You wouldn't, go into the wardrobe, because obviously you'll see the smoke. As soon as you enter the building, you look into the kitchen, you look into the rooms, you definitely see smoke if there was fire. So that is basically what smoke testing is. Smoke testing is, you get an application and then you're basically just doing, random check on different things on the application to make sure that there's no fire, right? And then by the time you check the application, just to make sure before you go deep into it and start expecting things deeply, right? You just go briefly over the whole application. And that's what smoke testing is. So that's why I advise people to, just do that. You have banking apps and stuff like that, just for you to, just build your experience. Smoke testing is something you can do. You test an application on the surface, you just check all the different features. Just say, okay, let's say a banking application, for example, right? You open the application, you log in first. If you can't log in, right, you don't even need to do any deep, say, let me try and break it or anything. If you can't log in, right, it's definitely something is wrong. It means there's a fire there, right? So you can say, oh, okay, you've seen a smoke. So it means there's probably something wrong with login. Or maybe when you log in into the application, right, you try to do a transfer. Right? You just try to just do a transfer to yourself and then, or to someone, and then you realize that it doesn't go through or it's showing you an error. That's a smoke, right? And you can just say, oh, this stuff is not working. And then you don't even need to check to even see what exactly is happening, right? So you just do all those random checks around the application. That's smoke testing. And that's something that everybody can do, right? You don't need test cases. You don't need anything. You're just checking the application to see whether you see any smoke that indicates that there's a fire somewhere in the application. Yeah, so that's for smoke testing. All right, so I'll just speak to the non-functional part of it. Let me speak to the load performance testing, right, which is a very common non-functional testing that is done. I don't know if you remember Black Friday. I think last year, I
Yeah,
think year before the
Jumia.
last as well.
Jumia will come.
Yeah, all of them, right? Jumia, there was Jumia. I think Konga too had the Black Friday. Basically what happened, they said, okay, from this time in the morning, you can buy things for this particular amount and everything. So a lot of people just basically, just downloaded the apps, right? And they just came into the apps. And what's happened at that point when everybody was using the app was just very, very slow. People were getting errors. Like Twitter was just blasting that day, like, oh, Jumia, you guys are not this, you guys are not that, right? Because due to the fact that they couldn't handle the load, right? The number of users that came onto the platform at that point in time, right? That was what caused, users to experience. The app works, right? If you wanted to buy something today and you go on Jumia app, you would be able to buy what you want to buy, you check out. But when on Black Friday, they had like over 1 million users probably, right? I'm just assuming, probably over 1 million users at that point in time. They couldn't handle it. So how do you prevent that? How do you prepare for that kind of scenario? That is what load testing does, right? So if you're a tester and you want to perform a load testing, there are tools that allow you to, simulate many users, as many users as you want, right? That allows you to simulate that and you'll be able to perform a load test. So that's basically what a load testing is. So you can see, smoke test tries to deal with like the functionalities of the application, while load test is speaking more to the how does it perform, right? When you have so much load on the application, that's what it tries to speak to. All right, so we just speak to opportunities in testing, right? Because as our great poets will say, "Oh, Nikoko." So that means like money is the main thing, right? In any discussion you're talking about, any career, people are always like, okay, how much would I earn? And I'm happy to tell you that, right? Software testing is a very lucrative career. There are opportunities for you, and you can basically get, good jobs as a tester, right? That's going to pay you very well because it is a specialized profession, right? You need a certain set of skills to be able to make it, right? Any profession that you need a special set of skills to, right? Those are specialized professions, and those professions are professions that you can, majorly say yes, you can easily make a career out of, right? So that is testing for you. So these are like the testing opportunities and kind of salaries that you can earn on testing, right? So this speaks to the let's bring it down to Lagos. Sorry, my guys in Ghana. We're talking about Nigeria here, Lagos, Nigeria, right? You guys are always welcome to join us here in Lagos, right? Yeah. So speaking to testing opportunities and salaries in Nigeria. So from what we can see on this side here, it says that the average base salary in Lagos is about, and this was from a survey, about 127K, which is, if you're just starting out, right, it's something good to start with, right? And so from there, you can see that you can easily grow and double your earnings or increase your earnings. Let me put it like that. You can increase your earnings based on remember the skills levels that I talked about, right? That you're not really looking at, how many years of experience you have, not necessarily that, right? It speaks more to the skill level you are at that point in time in your career. So the base salary is around, in Lagos, according to the survey, is around 127,000, right? So that just speaks to, is it a lucrative career? You're sure it is? All right, so we talk about like the attributes of a tester, right? What makes a good tester? So these are things that, makes you a good tester overall, right? You need, at the top of it, you need technical skills, right? You can't be stressed enough. You also need analytical skills. Then you need to have passion for testing, right? You need to have passion for quality, right? It needs to be a part of you, right? These are things that will make you really grow very fast. I've seen people that just start testing and, you know, their growth rate within 6 months, like it was even very surprising for me, right? And that was majorly because of the kind of passion that they were able to develop, right? They really had the passion to actually, you know, the passion for quality in software, right? You could basically tell them that, oh, I need you to do this. And even on the days they don't feel like it, right? That passion will always come true. And it's the passion that actually fuels things like you learning technical skills. If you don't have passion for it, trust me, you wouldn't go far unless you had like the passion for it. And then you also need to have the right kind of attitude, right? And you need to be able to communicate as well. Those are things that, you know, during focused sessions that we'll have later, you know, we speak more about, you know, what are these technical skills, what are like the verbal and, you know, written communication skills that you need to have as a tester, right? How to communicate with your team, right? With the developers, because many developers feel, you know, testers give them, you know, a lot of work because they've done something, but you're telling them that, oh, there's fire in this particular part, right? And they feel like, no, but it works like that, but it doesn't really work when it gets to the hands of the user. So they feel like that. So if you communicate better, right, it will help you manage those relationships. So that developer-tester relationship that you have with your coworkers will always be cordial if you learn how to communicate effectively, right? And also productivity. You need to be able to manage your productivity as a tester, right? So these things all around help you to become a tester, a very good tester. Now, when I was talking about the passion, right? Passion is what gives you like, okay, what kind of psychology do you need to have as a tester, right? That will make you a good tester, right? So you need to always believe in your mind that a software, no matter how good, how fine, you know, it is, and how many times it's been tested, right? You always believe that there's always defects, there's always something wrong in it. That doesn't mean you're paranoid, right? It just means that, you know, you're open to errors. I mean, you're open to finding more issues in the application because in your mind, you feel everything is fine on the surface, but there are still other areas that you might need to dig deep into. And then you'll be able to find, you know, problems with that particular software. So always have the belief that, you know, a software system always has defects, right? And your intent every single time is to break the system, right? You're not there to play with the system, right? You're trying to break it because if you put it in the hands of your users, excuse me, if you put it in the hands of users, right, your users will break it for you. So your intent is to always break the system, right? And then you need to have the ability to identify edge cases, right? What are the things that can fail? So this speaks a lot to the experience you have as a tester, right? Being able to identify edge cases. So edge cases, let me just speak to edge cases. It just means that, okay, this door, let me take an example of a house, right? This door is meant to open outside, right? You pull it and you pull the door outside, right? But what happens if it wasn't designed to go inside, right? And then someone tries to force it and go inside, right? That's an edge case because the system wasn't designed to do that. But then someone comes and does it. What does the system do? Does the system just break, right? When you try to force it, does the whole door just come down and that's the end, right? Or does it just tell you that, oh, you can't do that, you know, just do the right thing? So those are like edge cases. Something that the system was not designed to do, and you know the user is trying to do it. So what happens in those cases? So you need to be able to identify those kind of scenarios as a tester, right? The failure point where the application can fail. You need to be able to identify that, right? And then you also need to believe that, you know, the developer missed something out, right? So you can't say, oh, because they delivered this application to you, it means that, oh, developer has done everything. You always need to have the belief that, you know, the developer missed something, right? With every feature that you're looking at, just have the mindset that, oh, something was missed out, right? How can I find what the developer missed out, right? That will make the system not be of good quality. Then you always need to have the ask yourself that, how do I improve the quality of the solution, right? Always ask yourself at every point in time, how do I improve the quality, right? You found the issues, but how do you come in and say, oh, we've done this, it works, but it could be better, right? How do I improve the quality, right? And then you also need to have market experience, right? You need to have industry knowledge, basically, like, okay, what are the similar products to your products? What do they do in the market currently, right? And then always believe that whenever code is modified, there is always a defect introduced in software. So you don't just believe that, oh, because you've tested it before, then you just made a small change, and then you just believe that, oh, it's fine, right? It's never fine. You have to confirm that it's actually fine, right? And the way you confirm, what makes you confirm is when you believe that there's always a defect introduced, that you never trust what your developers say. Always check it. That's the golden rule, right? Never trust what the developer. It doesn't mean you don't trust them as a person, right? But you're in the game of quality, and your instinct is always telling you, never trust what they say. Always check it, and trust me, most times your instincts will be correct, and you will save the company a lot of money, right? So let me just speak for people that are not really in tune with how, all these apps that we see on our phone, right? All the Carbon, the alerts, the Stanbic app that was just released, AOO, Cowrywise, all of them, right? They are all applications that were developed, right? So this is the process. So this is like the generalized process that it goes through. Some people do the analysis, and then they do the requirement specifications from the analysis. They look at, okay, what problem can we solve with this application? And then they write those things down. And then by the time they run the design, they'll design that, okay, this is how we plan to solve it, right? And then developers come in to implement that design, and then testing and integration happens, right? So that's where the QA comes in and says, oh, okay, what was done? Was it done according to the specifications and stuff like that? And then after testing is done, it goes to operation. And then from operation, you get feedback, and then you can, maintain the product by doing the whole process again, right? So this basically speaks to a waterfall model. I wouldn't go deep into that, but this is just showing you what the software development lifecycle is. So for people that, you've not really been on the software team, right? This is basically what software teams do day in and day out. This same process of analysis down to operation, right? So analysis is when you identify a problem, and then operation is when you deliver that software to the users to use. All right, so this is a new model that speaks to how applications are being developed, right? So I'm not going to go deep into this for the sake of time, but just keep in your mind that there's something called the Agile model, which a lot of companies are running now. So if you wanted to, get job in some places, right, they will tell you that, oh, have you worked with an Agile team before? Do you understand, what Agile means as a process, right? So that's just basically what this is, right? All right, so I'll just be speaking a little to what manual testing is, right? So manual testing is, basically testing without the aid of tools. And that's just you basically inspecting application without the use of tools, right? So what are the different processes that are involved, right? You have your test planning there, and you have your test creation, and these are like the sort of documents and methods that you use to create your test cases, right? Test cases are the steps that you follow in an application. As test cases are the steps that you follow in an application, right? And then we have like risk analysis, reporting. Yeah. All right. So you have risk analysis, you have reporting. So it helps you to prioritize things. You can't do everything at once, right? So risk analysis will help you. It's something I had to learn, in my own journey of testing as well, where, I have to do, let's say 200 things on an application, right? How do I start from? Do I just start from login and just start going, right? From my experience, that's showed me that I need to like look at where the risk areas are and focus on that first. As soon as I'm done with that, and then go to like the low risk areas, just so things move along very fast, right? You have troubleshooting, finding the root cause of bugs. Some testers will tell you that maybe that's a developer's work to find what was causing it, right? But then it gives you extra confidence whenever you're reporting a bug, when you are able to tell the developer where the bug might likely be from, right? The root cause of that particular fire is in the application. Then we have we have browsers and machines, and then one major thing that happens in testing is verification and validation. And then you have like different which type of testing to do, and then you have software testing life cycle. So that's like a process inside of software development life cycle. Like I just showed you now, within the testing phase, there's still a testing life cycle that happens, right? So let's just move on. So the roles and responsibilities of a QA person, right? So this just speaks to what you do as a tester in a software team. How do you add value? Like that question is something that I hear a lot, right? And it's always a good question to ask yourself whenever you're on a team, right? That how do I add value to this particular team, right? How do I add value? And these are just some of the ways, right? It's not an exhaustive list. So you add value by analyzing requirements. You add value by understanding the software application being tested. A lot of projects I've worked on, I can tell you that most times whenever they need information about the product, they won't go and meet the developer that actually wrote it. They'll go and meet the tester, because the tester has a lot of business knowledge of how it's meant to work, and also the technical part as well of how it actually works. So most of the questions that they have in the application would be answered by the tester. And then so one of the roles is participating in test plan preparation, preparing test scenarios and test cases. And so this is a major part of what testers do. Executing the test cases that you created, then tracking defects, and then performing necessary retesting, providing defect information, right, for developers. When I talked about finding root cause and being able to show the developers that, okay, this is where the problem is probably coming from, and then being able to prepare report summary. So this is just like an I would say, summarized view of what the testing roles and responsibilities are, right? By the time you dive deeper into it, you would see, all right, by the time you dive deeper into it, you would see how much more your responsibilities are in testing, right? Many things that they expect from you, right? So for the QA engineering, roadmap, right? You have from fundamentals, right? You need to learn test strategies, right? You need to learn how to develop test methodologies, how to identify the different types of testing, like we talked about, functional and non-functional testing. And then you need to also identify the test management tools, and then you need to know how to track different tracking tools. So these are things that help you generally in the QA side of things, right? So this is quite good learning, just from a beginner point of view, having a list of all these things written down, right? And then being able to tick that, okay, I understand what black box testing is, I understand what white box testing is, and all of this, right? You understand like test strategies, you know how to develop test methodologies and all, then the different types of testing. And by the time you're able to list these and rate yourself, you will see as you progress in your skills, right? So thank you very much, guys. This is where I'll hand it over to Toby to continue. I hope you guys are able to gain one or two things. All right. Thank you very much, Princess.
Thank you so much, Holapo. In fact, I would say it's almost done with the whole presentation. I don't know if you have any question. I mean, that was a whole lot of information, and I'm very sure people ask questions to ask. If you say you don't have any question, okay, and nobody's even taking call up or safe. So please, thank
So
you.
they are thanking me spiritually.
They are taking notes. Thank you. So thank you so much for that. If you have any question, please drop it under the comment section, and you stay around and be able to answer your question. So Toby can take it up from here. So Toby will be talking deeper about the non-technical and the technical skills, the tools, and of course your test case and non-test cases stuff. So Toby, are you set? Hello, is Toby there with us? Where is he?
Yeah. Probably having network issues.
Oh, okay. Okay. So let me reshare the screen, my screen. So I will, while we for Toby to join. Okay.
Okay. All right. So I see someone asked for if they can get materials to the training. Yeah, we'll make that available for you guys.
Yeah, will be the material will be available, as well as this Zoom presentation is being recorded, so it's going to be uploaded like almost immediately after we are done now, so we don't go and come back for it. I think Toby has joined now. Hello, Toby, are you there? I think he's having network issue. This is like the third time we are having him. Please, can you all see my screen?
Oh yeah, we can see your screen.
Hi, Princess.
Oh, Toby, welcome. So let me stop sharing so you can share your screen and then continue.
Okay. Sorry, I was having some network issues.
Yeah. Okay. So while Toby's trying to come off, we are gathering your question. Someone already asked that how does someone with no technical background move and adjust to becoming a software tester? Another person also asked that what is the difference between smoke testing and exploratory testing? So Kalakwa will answer that. And I feel one of the questions the person asked about no technical background move to becoming a software tester will actually be answered in the course of this presentation. I think we're the second or the third presenter should answer that question. And as regards smoke testing and exploratory testing, Bobby is still coming up. Kolakwa, do you want to quickly answer that?
All right. Let me just answer Isabel. Right. So what's the difference between smoke testing and exploratory testing? So smoke testing is basically what you do when you want to determine whether whether this particular application is worth testing in the first place, right? So that's what you start with the smoke test to just determine if there are any fires or this particular application is worth actually spending time to go through it. While exploratory testing is more of, it depends on how you want to put it, right? With exploratory testing, right, you're still checking like different functions in the application. But in this case, you're taking notes about what you're doing, and you can decide to go deep in exploratory testing, right? You can decide to take a feature and break it down, decide to go deep into it with exploratory testing. But when it comes to smoke tests, you're just, casually checking all the different features to make sure there are no obvious issues before you actually go deep into it. But when it comes to exploratory testing requires more time, and you can decide to go deep into exploratory testing if you want to, or just stay shallow and check things. I hope that answers you. And then with exploratory testing, you can actually have a list that you work with, or you have a note where you write what you discover about the application, right, of how it works and all that. So exploratory testing is where you decide to, go deep into the application and actually test, the different functions for what they do. So that's what exploratory testing is. And there are people that will argue that, all testing is exploratory because you're learning about the application, right? But for the sake of, distinguishing between the smooth test and the exploratory test, those are the differences. I hope that answers your question, Isabella.
Yeah, I guess that's it. That actually does. However, if it doesn't, you can always drop comments in the chat section. Thank you so much, Kolapo. I think Toby is ready now. So yeah, Toby can go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So good afternoon, everyone. Once more. My name is Toby. So I'm introducing myself for those that didn't join when I did. I'm a QA tester for Summit Tech. So I'll be walking us through discussing on starting with the skills required for software testers, both technical and non-technical skills. So I'll be starting with the non-technical skills. So as you can see on the screen, the first one we have here is the analytical skills. And these analytical skills helps break up a complex software system into smaller units to gain a better understanding and create test cases. So to add to that, it also helps you in observing and researching problems around your software. And this analytical thinking skills it's very in demand from most companies. So as a tester, you should be able to think differently in terms of breaking up complex software system into smaller units, which will help you gain a better understanding on how to go about testing it and also creating your test case. Then next is communication skill. A good software tester must have a good verbal and written communication skill. So communicate verbal in the sense that you must be able to communicate effectively with your team members, all stakeholders involved on probably issues around the softwares. Then written communication is also important. Example is how you write works. You should be able to communicate in such a way that all members of your team, both the client can understand whatever you are reporting. Then have certificates around your written communications like test cases, test strategies, bug reporting, etc. Then next is time management and organization skills. Testing at times could be a demanding job, especially during the release of a code. So there are times whereby there will be pressure on you. We need to go live and you still have to test. Time management and organization skills helps you to properly plan yourself, know the kind of testing you need to do and how to, manage it effectively. Then next is great attitude. It says the attitude to test to break. This is also a very important skill every tester must have. You must carry this test to break attitude when you test an application. You must be looking for bugs, finding issues. Don't just focus on acceptance testing around the functionalities of the software. Users can log in, users can sign up. You must also find a way to break the application. Then next is passion. Kolapo talked about this. It's very needed to excel in any profession or job. You need passion. I always crack this joke. My earliest days of testing, when I got my first job, what actually fueled my passion back then was the salary. After service and I got my first job, the OK pay, and I said to myself, man, I need to keep collecting this salary on a monthly basis. So that fueled up my passion to want to learn more, to want to be the best in my department. So yeah, passion is very important in any profession or job. So yeah, on technical skills required in software testing, especially for beginners. The first one is a knowledge of web technologies. So we have API, which stands for Application Programming Interface, then front end, mobile application. So when we say front end, we're referring to the UI of the application or website that customer or users can interact with. Then mobile application, Android and iOS. Also, knowledge of test management tool. We have examples here, TestLink, Jira, Google Sheets. So this test management tool helps you to document your testing in terms of like test cases, test plan and the likes. Then knowledge of defect tracking tool. So defect tracking tool is a tool that the entire team, developers, testers, project manager, other teams involved make use of. Example here is Jira, Bugzilla. So these tools help you to track the progress of development and also testing of the software. Then next is knowledge of automation tools. Yeah, this is also very important. Automation makes your job easier. My early days too, I did what we call sanity tests for more than a year on Android and iOS manually. But after I learned automation, I was able to write a script that does this for me even while I'm sleeping. So automation tool is very important and it makes your job easier. So why is automation testing? What is automation testing? So it's a process to initiate a tool to execute the procedure on the application under test. So what automation does is it helps compensate your manual efforts in the sense that it helps you to execute those tests that you done manually. Example is logging in on an application. If you are going to do that manually, you need to go to the website, enter the URL, and type in your email, your password, and click on the login button. But with an automation tool, you can initiate or execute this process using a tool. Then purpose of automation testing. Example is Selenium, QTP. There are other type of automation tools like Cypress, Catalan, and the likes. So one is automation tools are believed to provide more consistent and accurate results with the ability to run over different platforms, technology over again and again. So you can run your test on different platforms. If it's a mobile, it can run on Android and iOS. If it's a web application, it can run on different browsers like Chrome, Firefox, IE, that's Internet Explorer. Then also to perform your test speedily with tight deadlines. Yeah, so one of the advantage or pros to automation is speed. It executes your tests faster than the manual efforts. Then next is running the test across the platform manually can be very taxing and demanding, and it consumes a lot of time. But with an automation tool, you can do this seamlessly. It also saves you a lot of time. Yeah, so let's talk about levels of testing. So the levels of testing, as you can see on my screen, we have 5. These are just different levels of testing we do in the process of software development. So the first one is unit testing. So unit testing is usually done by the development team. They write the unit code that tests the software they have in each feature. So the developers are usually responsible for writing unit testing. Then next is internal testing. Can you guys still see my screen?
Yes, we can see your screen. Levels of
Don't see
testing.
Okay, thank you. So let me just proceed. So we are on levels of testing. So I talked about unit testing. Unit testing is done by developers, and they write a unit of code to test against the software they are building as it applies to different features of the application. So that's that. Then and
Am I the only one that can hear him? Yes.
Toby, we
Okay.
can't hear you.
Yeah, I think
Can't hear you.
So I guess his network is fluctuating. So let us give him like a minute to get back.
It seems so.
Hello, I can't hear.
Don't worry, he's coming back online. Just hold on.
Let's
Hello.
let us give Toby a minute. I think he's trying to sort out his internet. So
Right.
while you do that, let me just pick some questions while we wait for him to come back.
Okay.
So someone asked, as a tester, what's the first thing to do while testing a software? And then I'm saying that it depends, right? It depends on a couple of things. Do you have the requirements? If you do, right, the first thing is you want to understand, how the application is meant to function. That's the first thing you need to do. And if you don't have the if you don't have the requirements and all you have is the application, right? What you do is you go into the application to sort of figure out what is even happening in the application if you can understand it. All right. Toby, are you back now? Yeah. I think he's just trying to sort out his internet. All right. What other question do we have? Yeah, so someone asked, how does someone with no technical background move and adjust to become a tester? Like I mentioned, these things are on different skill levels. So you can enter into software testing by just learning the basics, right? Just understanding the basics. And a very easy way, right, is for you to gain experience. And when I tell people to gain experience, I don't mean that you should start working in a company. That's the only time you can gain experience. But from time to time, you can go into the application. I mean, you can look for applications to test yourself just to see, do you even understand, what this means? Many of us have applications on our phones. Many of us have applications on our phones, which we can just run, structured tests on. I'm trying to come up with test cases for any application on your phone, maybe your bank app, right? There was one thing that we tried to do recently on the career group where I shared Stanbic Bank just released a new app, and that was an opportunity for you to, for a lot of people to, actually go in and, do some testing and try and see, what are the things that are different about this application, try and understand this application, and, basically just try and find out if they can see any issues. Is there any fire, any application? All right, welcome back, Toby.
sorry, I don't know. I've been switching between two networks and the experience is just not friendly today.
All right, sorry about that. All right, you can share your screen now.
Okay.
All right, we see your screen.
Can you? Okay, great. So okay, so let me just continue from where I stopped. So I was explaining integration testing. So this level of testing is a level of software testing process where individual units of the software are combined and tested as a group. And the purpose of this level of testing is to expose issues, faults, that could come as a result of interaction and communication between all these combined or integrated units. Then the next level of testing, as you can see on the slide, is system testing. So this level of testing is software testing process where a complete integrated system is tested. So integration says individual units are combined and tested as a group, while system says a software testing process where a complete integrated system is tested. And the purpose behind this is to test and evaluate the system for compliance as it applies to the system requirements. Then next is acceptance testing. So a level of a software testing process where a system is tested for acceptability. And the purpose for this is to test and evaluate the system also for compliance with business requirements and whether it's acceptable for delivery, are we good to go live, you know. And next is regression and retesting. So at stage 4, where we have acceptance testing, I mentioned earlier that we test to ensure if it's ready to go live. The QA does their part. We also do some levels of beta testing here. Then even when the application goes live or is yet to go live, there's what we call regression or retesting. So in terms of regression, this usually happens whenever there's a code change from the developer's end. So a code change could be a bug fix, or they added new feature to the application. As QA, as testers, we need to, carry out regression testing. And Kolapo mentioned some types of testing earlier. Example is smoke testing, which is a type of regression test. We also have like system end-to-end testing. These are also some examples of regression testing. So these are the levels of testing, levels of software testing: units, integration, system acceptance, and regression retesting. So we move to the next slide. So this one brings us to fundamental test process. So we have some points here: test planning, control, test analysis and design, test implementation and execution, test evaluation, exit criteria and reporting, test closure activities. So I'm going to take them one by one, starting with test planning and control. So test planning and control is a type of fundamental test process which helps us to define the objective and goal of our testing process. We do this using a kind of, we use this using a requirements specification document or specification test plan to come up with this testing plan and the control. And also take note that this testing plan and control is a continuous process in our software testing lifecycle, especially in the AGILE methodology. Then next is test analysis and design. So this is also a fundamental process which helps us to create our test conditions and test cases. Then the test analysis and design also, the process perform major tasks like reviewing of our test basis, identifying our test conditions based on analysis of test item. So the key point here is that it helps us to create our test conditions and test cases. And we have tools we can use in doing this, which I mentioned earlier. Then next is test implementation and execution. So the test implementation and execution is also a fundamental test process, which process in which actual work is done. Then in this process, executing test cases, we carry out some activities in this process. I'll list a few. One is creating of test suits. Another is having a checklist of our test environment. Another is checking of actual results against expected results. Then there's also a level of reporting that happens in this process, that is the test implementation and execution. Then next is test evaluation, test evaluating exit criteria and reporting. So at this phase or this process, what it entails is that we evaluate our exit criteria in defining when to stop testing. So no matter the level of testing we do, the type of testing we do, we should be able to define when to stop testing. And this can depend on our code coverage, our functional checklist testing, risk analysis, and the likes. Then finally is our test closure activities. So test closure is the last process in our fundamental test process. And in this process, we collect data from all the completed test process. That's from test plan down to test evaluation. And some of the activities we do here is ensure that all deliverables have been met. We also ensure documentations have been done. Then we check all our go-live checklists to make sure every criteria, expected result have been met on that. So next, is deliverables of testing. So deliverables of testing are just things we need to deliver, we need to execute while undergoing our testing processes. So we have listed them here. One is a test plan. The next is test scripts. We also have here test exit reports, then your daily test reports. Next is test compilation reports. 6 is defect reports. So you can have more than these, but these are just standard deliverable testing that we. So test and specification. So here we are talking about test cases, a specific example of a general rule. So we're stating an example here. There's an example of a test case and which says withdrawal amount must be no more than £250 or the account balance. So as a tester, this is more like a test scenario. And as a tester, what do? The tester creates specific example we check as it applies to the scenario given. Withdrawal amount must be no more than £250. So if we look at this table below, it has some checklists. So the account balance is 1K. Then what is the withdrawal amount? Is the withdrawal amount less than £250? Then the answer is true, that's okay. Then we check again, is it greater than £250? Just like you have 300 and the result is false. So you list out this checklist as it applies to your scenario and test for them. So next, I'll just try and rush through this slide in order not to take too much of our time. And I won't be going to detail because of our time as well. So this is a structured test script, for example, which you can also relate to your test case document. So on this column, we have a functional specification reference, which says ABC BTC payments. Then the subject here says BU system testing, payments maintenance screen with an ID of RS000. Then we have a test case ID, which says maintenance screen 001. Then what's the description we're looking at here? Verify that the input field for RSS00 are displayed as expected. Then we have some prerequisites to it, things you may need before you can carry out this test. The user should have a login details. User's PC should be set up. User should have the right access privilege. So these are prerequisites you need to carry out the test. Then we have the components, the main actors, and the data setup. So the test name, as you can see here, is RS option screen. Then we now have steps. Steps to execute or steps to test. So we listed them: step 1, step 2, step 3. So to carry out this test, you start by following step 1, enter RS test 001 and press the caret button. Then for every step, there's an expected result, and the expected result is well explained here for each step. So we follow through this and also create more functional specification using these documents. So we have a test scenario here that says check the login functionalities. And we have listed some test cases as well. So the scenario says check the login functionality. And these are kind of scenario you see in your specification document or requirement document. Most times they don't break down the test cases for you as seen here, but it is your duty as a tester to think outside the box, to come up with as many test cases you can, and as it relates to your scenario. So the scenario once here says check login functionalities. And what are the test cases we are looking at? First one says check the behavior when invalid email or valid password is entered. That's one. What should happen when a valid email and invalid password is entered? That's another two. What's the behavior when both email and password are invalid? That's 3. Then what's the behavior if I enter a valid email and I leave the password field blank? Then another behavior says, what's the behavior if I enter a valid email and a valid password? So this clearly explains test scenario versus test cases for an e-commerce application. So you have more than one test scenario in your test case or application, but you should be able to come up with different test cases. So this is another test scenario that says search functionality. So the activity here says identify different test scenario from the above functionality. So just looking at this search button and search field, I can easily come up with different scenario. One, what happens if I hit the search button without inputting a search text? That's one. Secondly, I can see that it has, you can search by product, by brand, by category. So what happens if I search by valid product or a valid brand or a valid category? Then I can also do checks around what happens if I search for an invalid product name or an invalid brand name or an invalid category. So these are different test cases you can come up with under search. So for example, test, so this is another example that says test scenario for a banking site. So what do we do here? Scenario 1 says check login and authenticate functionality. That's one scenario for login. Another scenario for transfer says check money transfer can be done. Another scenario for account statement says check account statement can be viewed. And another scenario for deposits says check for fixed deposits or recurring deposit can be created. So we have different testing tools, as you can see here. We have Selenium, Robotium. These are automation tools. Test Complete, QTP, SoapUI. There are more to this, but just like you can see on the screen, these are samples of testing tools. Then we have a table here that says periodic table of software testing tools. So this will also help you in having experience around different tools like test management tools, automation, mobile performance. So for test management, you can see TestRail. For automation, you can see Cypress, Selenium. For different tracking tools, you can see Jira, Bugzilla, Bugnets, and the like. So you can take your time and go through this periodic table, pick one or two tools and start with. And you can also ask your mentors in here, they can guide you on which tool to start with in case you are confused. Then next is, okay, so I think I'm done with my session.
Yep, thank you very much. Please, we should clap for him. Thank you so much, Toby. That was an amazing session. I've learned so much, and I don't know if everyone has. Yeah. Okay. Don't worry, I'll take care of that. Just go on mute. Possibly I can mute you from here. Yeah. So, thank you so much, Toby. Thank you so much for the presentation. Thank you for the information shared. Really appreciate it. If you have any question, guys, please kindly drop it in the chat section. Kindly drop your questions. I'm sure he's around to answer, and if he's not available before the end of this presentation, all your questions will be answered. And note that your questions are also being noted. Shafum is taking notes of your questions. Yeah, so that's it. So Toby, you can stop sharing your screen. Yeah, thank you very much. Okay, so yeah, thank you guys for thanking Toby. Toby, yeah, thanking you, and we're also thanking you as well. Thank you so much. So I don't know, in the comment section, just like a quick break for us before we go to the last part of this, which will be wrapping in the next 15 minutes or so. From the periodic table that was shown, I just want to know how fast you are in picking information, right? If you really pay attention to details and how fast you do that. Can you mention like 2 tools you saw from the periodic table that was displayed last from Toby's presentation? Just drop it in the chat section. There are 2 tools that was displayed or that was mentioned from Toby. Yeah, Annex said Appium and Selenium. Yeah, 2. I want to, not 1-1. 1-1, you are not qualified. I want to JMeter, AGILE, testing. Now somebody has to go and pack JMeter and testing together. Yeah, SOAP UI and Postman and AGILE. Yeah, thank you guys. That was great. Yeah, that was great. Yeah, if you have not answered, you can still answer your question. Yeah. So while we are getting prepared for the last section, I'm trying. There are some tools that you guys are not mentioning. I don't know if I was the only one that saw it, but there are some tools you are not mentioning. Okay. Can you all see my screen?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That's great. So I'll basically be your third presenter, and I'll be talking about the career in software testing, basically. And just like somebody asked, and I said before the end of this webinar, we're going to answer that question. So I'm going to just do like a quick run through a typical testing. If you get a tech firm today and you're joining your engineering team, there are basic people you are going to be seeing in the company, in your team. Of course, you are going to see the developers, which I know almost everybody here knows developer at one point or the other. Some of you have wanted to do development. Yeah, you meet people we call product managers, right? You meet those we call program managers. You also meet those we call project managers. You will meet, you meet UI UX designers. What they do,
Okay.
the PMs are those that, sorry, which that? All right, sorry, you can all go on mute. Thank you. So PMs manages your projects. Of course, they have areas at which they manage your project. We have internal management. We have those that face the clients to manage their project. We won't dive much into that, but yeah, PMs basically overall what they do is managing the team and the project. So you have the UI UX person who is focused on the user interface that you see when you launch your application, either mobile or website, and you see that thing that is very beautiful. Yeah, you see the colors and everything. Someone designed it. And when you use the application, the way you feel about it, how you enjoy it, how you're able to log in easily, how you're able to log out easily, that's an user experience. Somebody also designed it to make sure that it is easy for you to flow with it. You understand? Another set of people you also meet in a tech firm in QA testers. You also meet the DevOps guys. I'm going to be talking much about QA testers, that's why I skipped that. And you're going to be talking, for DevOps guys, of course, by the time you are done developing your application, it's going to be released to the customers, right? Somebody is going to help you release that. Somebody is going to help you check some little dependencies and make sure that, yes, everything is fine and is deployed and is visible to the customer and accessible to them. So yeah, talking about the QAs, QAs, Collabo has explained basically what they do. Toby has given us details of the tools they use. But how do you even get started, right? How do you even know? You can't just wake up one morning and say, yes, I want to be a tester, and you start testing, right? The first thing is for you to understand what testing is about, which part of it has been explained. Visit resources. If you have to do YouTube, do YouTube. If you have to do Udemy, do Udemy. If you have to check Udacity, if you have to check online, just check Google, just check LinkedIn. A lot of people write posts and comment to disclose to you what testing is all about. If you're in a community of testers, ask questions to understand what testing is even all about. You understand? Then from there, you already know what this information is and you want to begin learning. That is when you can join a community of people that train people in becoming a software testers. In Nigeria here, ANST, of course, is doing a great job in training people in becoming software testers. We create a channel for them. We share a curriculum. We share resources that you can go to either on Udemy or anywhere to learn for free. And aside from that, Summit Tech also does software testing training. I know Testify also does software testing training. And yeah, those basically are the three I know of. Of course, there can be others. So yeah, from there you can pick up testing career. Of course, these are platforms that will train you from what is testing, right, to a professional level in testing. And of course, like I'm always saying, you cannot do any program and become an expert in testing, right? Even if you have been working in the company for years, you cannot, for a year or 2 years, you cannot just become expert overnight. It takes your consistency and experience for you to become an expert. So, but they are going to train you from your fundamental level to becoming a professional software tester. So yeah, those are the bodies you can learn software testing from. Aside from that, once you have learned, another thing you need to do is give yourself an opportunity to learn by testing applications. If you go for an interview, even if you have not done a job before, as someone who has not gotten an opportunity to work before, you want to go to a company as a tester, they are going to ask you for what you have done before. And because you're an intern doesn't mean that you should not have done something before. I'm always saying it that even when I don't have a job, then I will sit down on Play Store, download applications. All I'm doing is to hunt for work. I'm exercising the lessons and the skills I've learned on those applications. I will gather it. I will go to if you check your Play Store, you mostly see the developer's information or the product owner information under the Play Store. I don't know if you used to check it, but the information of the owner of that product there. Send your reports to them. Those that are kind enough will get back to you and appreciate you either in kind or in cash. They're going to appreciate you for what you have done. So you don't just sit down and say, oh, I've learned this thing. Work is not coming. No, It doesn't work that way. You have to sit down and put yourself to work. Check Play Stores for application. If you're using an iPhone, check your iPhone application. There is no application on Play Store that doesn't have a bug. Quote me anywhere. There is no application on that Play Store that doesn't have a bug. As much as your WhatsApp is so sweet to use, there are bugs on it. It's either your Twitter or Facebook. But the most important thing is that these applications might not be giving you bugs that are very, very critical. You understand? But we have application that has critical and very obvious bug. And that brings me to when I'm talking to QA testers as well, that even if you're a QA tester and you're professional in it, it doesn't mean that you have tested this application means that you have gotten the whole bug. No. Another QA can pick up that work and still find another bug that you did not notice. So you keep learning. You can't see all the whole bug, and an application cannot be bug free. So yeah, go to applications, either your app store, your Play Store, go to visit website online. If you hear an application say they are launching something today, go to their website. Go and look for bug. You know, some a student then, when we are doing our last program in Testify, went to the website and saw some bug. I was like, yeah, even me, I'm seeing bug. Even me, I'm writing bug. You understand? So there are bug on every application. That is just it. Fine, they will like, are this company not having testers? Yes, they are having testers, and just like I said, the tester cannot see everything. But fine, the most important responsibility is that they make sure that no critical bug is being deployed to customers, which is production state and accessible to them. So yeah, that is how you can get started. You learn from those platforms I've mentioned, and you train yourself in those skills. And of course, put yourself out there. Put yourself out there, even if you're professional and you are not putting yourself out there. Trust me, nobody knows what you are doing. You know, it will be very easy for your company to reach out to you and say they need you than when they are calling for application and you are the one tendering your CV. It's two different things. Of course, you are going to go through the same process, but there is a level of recognition from those two scenarios. So yeah, put yourself out there, be in communities, ask questions, contribute. Even if you are wrong or you are not sure about it, say it. It's nothing but to learn. So say it. If you are wrong, I'm very sure there are people that are professional there on the group who are going to correct it, that, oh, this is not the way it works, this is the way it works. So, and yes, don't settle in a particular tool. Don't just settle that, yes, I've learned this one, I'm now a tester, and that's it. There are people who have been into testing for 5-6 years and still could not do proper documentation. And that is why it will be easy, it's very hard for them to grow in career. If you go to another company, you can be in this company as a professional head of team or like a senior QA in that company. And you go to another company and they will tell you that they cannot put you as senior QA. It's because you didn't meet their requirements. You don't have their skills. So even if you are done testing, even if you have gotten the job, your responsibility is that you grow in your career, either as a developer, as any career field in tech, and mostly as a QA, because there are so many areas in QA. There are so many things you can do in QA. And I'm always saying that QA is one of the skills that is that has a very vast and multiple areas you can learn from. If you are tired of doing functional testing every day, right, move into performance testing. If you are tired of doing manual testing, try to focus and learn and grow yourself in automation testing. If you are tired in that one, there is AI testing, there's big data testing. There are so many areas that you can do testing under QA testing. So you can't be tired, except you just don't want to do anything testing anymore. Do you understand? So yeah, alternative careers you can do here, I would say business analyst, project manager, developers. And somebody will say, how will I grow from a tester to becoming a developer? The truth is, by the time you grow in your career as a tester, once you have learned the manual phase of it, society have made you know that, oh, you need to learn how to use automation tools. You need to learn how to use writing. You need to learn how to write code in writing, automation testing. Automation testing is not an alternative for tester. I'm going to echo that again. Automation testing is not an alternative for software testing. It is just another method to test an application. It's just like we have the manual driving car and we have the automatic. It doesn't mean that automatic changes what is called a car. A car is still a car. Testing is still testing. And if you don't know what manual testing is, you cannot do automation, because it is when you understand what you are testing that you automate. Do you understand? So yeah, so that's it. Automation testing, just like I explained to you, is you using tools to test your application. You can do automation testing on API. You can do automation testing on UI. You understand? So there are so many tools you can use for automation testing. Performance testing is another type of testing you can do. You are more of somebody that is working in an e-commerce company. If you're working in an e-commerce company, you will definitely need to do performance testing. An example is what Scholarcore use for Jumia, Konga, and the rest. You need to do performance because a lot of people are accessing the application. A lot of load are being placed on this application. So you need to understand the capability and the responsiveness of your application when these loads are placed on it. So yeah, that is just another type. But when it comes to career, another areas you can focus on, we have the business analyst, the project manager, the developers, and many more like that. So yeah, if you know your skill, if you know your code very well in writing your automation skill, you can grow from there to professionalizing your coding in becoming a developer. Because in your, for example, in your automation, let's say you're using Java and Selenium to write either your API testing or your UI testing. You can from there focus on learning and speak your Java programming language. If you know your Java programming language very well, you can do mobile development. You can do backend development. You understand? So it's very easy for you to move into different areas as a developer, as a QA engineer. So that is why they're always saying that QA engineers are like the heart of detecting, because you are like the center. You need to know what is happening from the beginning to the end, and it's easy for you to dive into different areas because you even need to have the skills of a PM. You need to have, just like Toby mentioned, the communication skill needs to be there. You understand? So yeah, what are other career tips we have here? How can freshers looking for software testing job get relevant experience? Now, get some experience by working on dummy projects, just like I've mentioned. Go to the internet, go on your app or Play Store and download the application or visit them and test it. How do you go about that? You write test cases, you execute them. If there are issues on them, just create a personal Trello board. This is one of the tools that Toby displayed. Just create a personal Trello board. Keep all those bugs there. Explain what the issue is, what is happening, and what do you think should be done. That is how to keep a defect. And the reports, I've tested 20 things, 10 of them are passing, 10 of them are failing. You understand? That's how to keep your report and make it relevant. And reporting is like a living document. It keeps getting updated over time. And of course, you have to keep making, sorry about that. You have to keep making changes to it as you keep testing. And if possible, get your work evaluated by experienced software testing professionals. So if you're in those groups that I mentioned, once you are done with it, drop it on the group. I tested this, and this is what I came up with. This is what I encountered. What can I do about it? Somebody else will say that, this is not really a bug. This is what they are trying to do in this. You know, if you are doing like an exploratory testing now, you don't really know what the requirements of the customer is. You are just there to like check round, for example. So you really don't need to know in and out of what the business wants to develop. So another person can tell you that, I actually used this application before. This is what they are trying to have. So this is not a bug, but this one is a bug. You understand? A professional person can help you evaluate it. And pick up technical skill section. Try to sort them in order of proficiency. You understand? You don't just learn manual and relax, just like I've mentioned. Technical skill. Selenium looks like a big name to you if you have not started career in testing. But trust me, by the time you start, you see that it's nothing. It's something you can easily do. And software certification body. And before I go into this, someone is always asking that, what if I don't have a career in IT? I'm always saying that one of a career you can go to, either in Nigeria or anywhere else, that you don't need the certification to grow, is in tech. They won't teach you how to develop a full application in schools, in most universities. They won't teach you how to test an application end-to-end in most universities. They won't teach you how to manage a team end-to-end in a whole university. So tech generally, you can learn regardless of your background. Even if you are studying elect, even if you are studying nurse or medicine or chemistry or anything, you can learn it. The most important thing you need to have is an open mind to learn. If you can carry iPhones, if you have not used an iPhone before, you carry iPhone and you know how to use iPhone, then you can learn anything. So that's just it. So professional body, if you want to get like a certification for it, of course, certification doesn't mean that you are not a professional. Certification just proves a level of confidence and, of course, prove that, yes, you have been certified that you can do this in any body or any team that is requesting you to present a certification. So one of the places you can get that is ISTQB and CSTE and many more. There are some test institutes and many more like that can present you certification in testing. There are criteria for some company actually, and some, they don't care, they are not interested. Just come and show us the skill. You know how to do it, yes, come and show us. But you know, as an individual, some of you are interested in, oh, I want to have a certification that proves that I can do this thing, and yes, you can have them. And always keep learning and you keep yourself with necessary tools and skills so that you never face any job problem in the future. And just like I'm always saying, automation testing becomes like the heart of every company now. They want to employ somebody who is sound in automation, who can write audio code to automate skills. But the truth is, some people have started testing like 10 years ago, and they are not sound in test automation. So gradually, for those kind of companies, these people are becoming quite obsolete, and they are not really going to be employing them because, oh, they don't have the skills needed for their company to fly. They are going to be creating so much application that they want someone that will be clicking a button and writing a regression testing and performing a regression test. So you need to keep updating your skills. If you get to a point that automation testing is what almost every company wants, as much as I don't advise companies to tell you what to use, it's also advisable that you update your skill so that you can confidently go there and smash it. You can learn how to use TestLink test management tool online. The link is here, and you also have access to it from the slide when it's being shared with you. And when it comes to CV tips, I don't know if this is added here, but I'll go through it one by one. In Nigeria, you need to understand that every country has their CV format. You cannot use the CV you use here in Nigeria to go and apply for a job in Canada or go and apply for a job in UK. Every country has its format. I've seen some people who uses image to submit application. I've seen an HR filter up CVs that has pictures in a tech application and just deleted it because they feel like it's of no use. We don't need to see your picture. What we want to see is your relevant skills. Does it match with what we need? You understand? We don't need to see your face. Too much graphics at times pulls off the HR off. What they want to see is the skill. Just go straight to your skill. So yeah, keep your CV very brief and comprehensive in expression. And you can keep your CV simply detailed. It can look so plain, but by the time they sit down to study, they will see that this is a whole lot that somebody has. I don't think I have CV up to 2 pages. My CV is like 1.5 pages, and it shows all my relevant skills. It shows where I've worked. It shows the responsibilities I've done there. You don't need to write the old grammar. Show us your skill. I mean, for most tech companies, they will ask you to give them GitHub. GitHub is where you have the works that you have done. It doesn't necessarily just have to be a code that I keep in GitHub. I upload zip files of documents that I've kept there. I can write a standard test case, write a standard test plan format and everything, keep them in the folder, zip them, upload them to my GitHub. Companies will visit it and they'll see them there. Make a clear job objective. I've seen people write CV and write that I'm a professional executive governing kinikon. We don't need that. Make it as brief as possible. Make it clear. What are your objectives? Why? In fact, make sure your objective aligns with the objective. Highlight your relevant skills. Focus on what the employer, and that is why your CV, which I best describe as your resume, right, is a living document. You don't just design a CV and drop it there 6 months. When you see another job that you want to apply for 1 year later, you go and pick it and you apply straight. No, it is something you keep updating. Keep updating it. If you want to apply for a job, look at their requirements. If it's possible, check it. Not even it is possible. Check the object, check their requirements, and make sure that your own requirements, your own responsibilities align with their requirements. That is how they'll know that, yes, you have an experience in what they need. You know, you can't say you have done manual testing before, and during your manual testing, all you did was write test case. You didn't do compatibility testing, and they are requesting for somebody that can do compatibility, that knows how to use tools online to do compatibility testing, and it's not there. They won't, like, these are like the keywords they will search for when they're filtering CVs. They won't pick it because you don't have it. So check what they require and compare it to your responsibilities and make sure that they align. Avoid the use of table structure. You know, use tables to mention your qualification and skills only. You don't have to use table to show me your BSc in mathematics, your MSc in education. No, you can only use good bulletin, you know, to highlight these qualified skills that you have and qualifications that you have. You don't have to put that you have an ISTP inside a big 3x4 column table. Do not write resume more than 3 pages unless you're applying for a team lead or a managerial position. I don't see any reason why you should have your CV like 3 pages. If it's in Nigeria here, they are not advisable to have more than 2 pages of CV. In fact, 1.5 page safe, if possible 1. But 2, yeah, if you're applying for like a managerial position, a team lead, like the head of QA or like a team lead of QA, fine. You can put it there because, of course, you have a lot to talk about in terms of your professional profile, your objective, and all. So do not add irrelevant personal details. I'm always in a text CV, you don't need to add your age, your height, your weight, your father's details. You don't need to add all that in your CV. In fact, you don't need your marital status. We don't need your local government address. Give us your full name, your residential address. Those are things that are very important. You understand? It's not necessary, exactly. It's not necessary. You don't have to tell me that, you don't have to give me your mother's middle name. I've seen CVs of tech and they're writing mother's middle name and all. We don't need that. Your first name, your last name, your address. In fact, everything should be at the title of your page. When you have your full name there, put your LinkedIn link, put your GitHub link, put your email address and phone number, put your address, Lagos State, Nigeria, or anywhere, put it there, and that's it. And you're done. You don't have to put block C flat 5. So do not use the word I while describing project responsibility. You know, so I've learned this like when I was the first CV I've ever written. You know, I write that, oh, just to show them that I did it. You know, you can write that, I tested this application, I wrote it test case. No, just wrote application tested, you know, performed, created. Those are the kind of words that you can use to start your responsibility. You don't need to write the word I, right? Like, for example, instead of writing I wrote test cases, you know, you can use wrote test cases on so application. So while writing education, always start with the recent education first. And I don't know if this is vague or it is needed. I don't think we need your primary school details. I went to Kosoko Primary. No, give us BSc and Masters, and that's it. If you have a professional certificate, yes, that's good to go. But aside from that, keep it short. They are not going to go to those schools to go and check where you are coming from. You understand? Just check your BSc, your Masters, if you have it, fine. And that's it. If it's only BSc, keep it there and you are done. Write relevant skills and on-job achievements on your first page of your resume, and work experience, education details on the second page. Yeah. So basically, what are you currently doing on your first page should entail your work experience. That's just what it means in totals. This is where you put in you have worked for social company. These are the things you did there. These are the applications you tested. Then your second page, put your education details and other things there. You don't go to your first page and start putting I schooled at a university. I volunteer at this program. No, that's not the first thing they want to see. Don't put your hobbies in the first page. You understand? That's how you align your CV. Put your important information first, and yeah, details. And the last thing here, yeah, these are other learning guides that can have that you can use to learn software testing. We have the software testing help and many more, Guru 99 tests and many more. If it has to do with platform, you can actually meet people to learn one-on-one. Of course, I've mentioned ANST, I've mentioned Testify, and I've mentioned Summit Tech, and any others that you can think of. And of course, our Ghanaian people also have Ministry of Testing in Accra. You can also like mix with them. And of course, I know they have a lot for you to learn with. Companies with testers in Lagos. Any standard tech company in Lagos should have a tester. Any standard tech company. If that company does not have a tester, I do not think they are breaking the market space. I don't know how they want to break the market space, because all they are going to be doing is go in, come out, go in, they'll push the application. When they see that it's out for, they will retrieve it. They'll go and fix it again, they'll push it again. No, but every tech company that you can think of that is in Lagos have it. We have InterSwitch, we have Paystar, we have Seedmart, we have Summit Tech, we have Testify, we have Simfix, we have Softcom, we have Sankore, we have many more. Tech firm generally. So yeah, and I think that's me coming to the end of my session. I think that's the end for this session. So yeah, Shay, for me, you can, I don't know if anyone has any question, if there's any question you want us to answer before we go. Thank you very much.
Princess, thank you.
Welcome.
Can I read out the questions?
Yes, you can.
So somebody is asking, says, I want to be enlightened on API testing. It says, though much was not mentioned on it. So can anyone help us with that? Either you, Kolapo, or Toby?
Do I go? Okay, let me just go. Just like Toby mentioned, right? When you see, I'll just do like a brief overview. When you, and I'll allow that Kolapo to be anyone that wants to go ahead. When you go to a website, you know, we always have the front end and the back end of it. The front end is what you see, the beauty there. The back end is functionality behind the thing. What makes it functional? When you click on this button, what should be displayed? When you click on register, what should be submitted? So that's like the back end. This is where you're communicating both you and the server together, right? This is where this is like the communication channel. I don't know if I give like an overview. So I don't want to dive much into that. But yeah, if you want to do API testing, I'm rooting for it. That's like the most fun part of testing for me. Yeah, Kolapo, do you want to go ahead?
Yeah, so you said it. So it's basically front end, back end, right? So when we talk about being a technical tester, right? Those are the kind of things we talk about, where you understand, that there's a front end as showing for everybody. That's the interface that everybody can see, and then there's a back end that's providing the data for that application. So that beautiful interface you're seeing, right? There's another interface that is behind it, like providing all the data, right? And every time you submit a form, you click a button, right? Is either submitting data or getting data. And in testing, is the most common tool that people use for API testing is Postman, right? So people can literally build their career, solely around like API testing, and go deep into like API testing as a specialized area. So if you want to know more about testing in API environments, right, just try and read more about Postman. And if you follow us on our channels and everything, we'll be sharing materials that you can use, and ways that we can help you in your testing journey to be able to understand all of this. So so that's it.
Thank you, Kolapo. Thank you, Princess. So someone else is asking, what is the difference between test scenario and test cases? Are they the same?
So let me answer that. I think Kolapo, okay, is it? I'm not going to stop on that, but let me just give a little internet. Just like you did your website the other time, right? They are giving a login page. I want to be able to log in. No, okay, let me put that. I want to, okay, let me put a scenario. Ensure an invalid user cannot log in. That's a scenario. A cases I can create under is try logging in with valid username with invalid password. Try logging in with blank fields. Try logging in with, what else? With either of the fields blank or either of the fields not correct, or try logging in with email address not existing. These are cases that can happen, things that a user can do under one particular scenario. Everything is still under trying to log in with invalid details, right? But cases that can make it invalid is different. So one scenario can have like multiple cases. I don't know if that answered the question. Yeah, Kolako can add more to that.
Yeah, so basically what she's saying is they are different. So they are on different levels. So inside of test scenarios, you can have like a lot of test cases. So that should give you an answer into the difference between the two of them.
All right, thank you guys. I think you guys nailed it. So someone else is asking, what is the difference between a test management tool and a defect tracking tool? They want to know what the difference is between when you say, oh, this is the test management tool, and you say, oh, this is the defect tracking tool. They want to know what the difference is.
All right, so for test management tool, right? That's basically where you keep all your tests. So imagine you have an application that you're testing, right? You need to be able to keep track of, okay, what are the different tests that I'm running, and what are the different test cases and the different scenarios that I have in this particular application I'm testing. So that's where you keep all of your test cases and test documentation. While for defect tracking, that is where you manage all the bugs that come up during your testing. So the reason why it's being kept separate in a lot of cases is you have your test that you're running, and then you have your defects. Those are the bugs that you keep track of. So those bugs, majority of developers don't really care about, like, okay, what are your test cases and stuff like that. But they have to resolve the bugs that you've raised, and then they push it back to you, and then you go there, and then you can update it whether it was passed or if it's still failing. So that's the major difference between test management tools and defect management tools. So example of a test management tool can be like TestLink. People use Jira for tests. People use Jira for tests, for their test management. Some people use Google Sheets as well. Yeah, so those can be test management tools as well. And then for your defect tracking tools, so I've seen cases where people use Jira, right, for managing their defects, because you can move the cards from one column to another. So it helps you to track it with developers. And some people use Google Sheets, but then their function is different. Even though you're using like the same tools in some of the cases, right? There are specialized tools for either one of them. But some cases you can still use, one tool for both, right? But then their functions are different. In one place you're tracking bugs, and in another place you're tracking your tests. So that's the difference between the two of them.
Yeah, actually giving it. So in just a simple line, your test management tools has like all your test cases, your reports basically, but your bug tracking tool is majorly managing the bugs you identify in application. So you can use Jira for both of them. It all depends if you are good at managing it. So yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Princess. Let me just add that, at the end of the day, you have to consider what your core uses, maybe what you guys are used to using, or what has been helpful to you guys over time. Because like Kolako said, really, I've seen people use even Excel to track bugs, they just share the link to all the developers, and everybody has visibility on the bug that are pending, or the ones that have been used, or the ones that have been fixed. So at the end of the day, you have to figure out which of these tools works best for you. But there are so many tools in the market, either for bug tracking or for test management. So having said that, I think the last question we have, I think this question is directed to Princess, is someone is saying that with no experience, how do I channel my CV to match after learning testing so as to make interview? So I think what this person is asking is, how do they make their CV, I'm guessing this person is still in the learning process.
Yeah.
So probably as a learner, how do they make their CV, attractive, or how do they make their CV standard for upcoming interviews?
Yeah, so before you can apply for any interview or any job, the first thing is that you have skills, right? And the skill is what is expected to be in your CV. You don't have to have like even if they put it on the application that they want 5 years interview before. I mean, I've experienced that before, where companies say they want someone with 10 years experience and the person should have all the skills. The most important is that pick out the relevant skill that you know that you can do and match it to your CV. You don't need to have 10 years. If you have the relevant skills that is needed, go for the interview, apply for the job. So look at what they need and look at what you have. You understand? And match it. They want someone who can write proper test documentation. They want someone who can write, who can execute testing. They want who can write Selenium testing. During your course of learning, you have learned those things. Put it in your CV. I've tested this application, and these are the various applications I tested. These are the things I did under it. Even if it's just one experience you have in that role, put it there and make sure your responsibilities are well spelled out and apply for it. There's no other magic to it. Just make sure that what they need as a requirement is there in your CV. Even if you are still learning, these are software testing, freelance, intern. These are the things you have learned. These are the things you can do. And this application you have practiced it on. If you have a report to show on your GitHub, put it on your GitHub and attach the link to it and apply for it. And mostly, you cannot be in a learning phase. I'm going to apply for the test manager role. Yeah, you are applying for, let's say, like a junior role. So when they see that and you put it there as an intern, of course, as an intern who is applying for a junior role, they know that, yes, you're open to learning. And those skills are what you can do. It shows that, yes, you want to learn and you can grow because you've already been learning before you even try to join them. So just make sure that whatever they are requesting for is matching with your CV. If, for example, even under the skills, maybe they put that they want someone that has Java in Selenium or your JavaScript with Selenium skills. You can put it there as the skills you can use. Put it there, Java with Selenium, bracket, beginner level, API testing, intermediate level. Put it in bracket there. I used to do that a lot. MySQL database level, expert, put it in bracket. So they know that, oh, this person is coming into Israel, but this person is a beginner in this skill. You understand? So that is how you try to make sure that your CV matches what they are requesting for. I don't know if I answered your question. Thank you.
Yeah, I think you did answer the question well. Tunde Omotoye said something on Twitter one time like that. He said there's actually nothing wrong with you including what you are learning in your CV. Like, say you're even learning via a video or you're taking a course. You can just put it there that, you're in this learning path towards this particular thing. Yeah, so there's actually nothing wrong with it. All you need to ensure is that your CV is honest enough to actually reflect what you can actually do as, as a tester. So you don't say you can do this and, you actually cannot. So I think we have another question.
Sorry. Yeah, continue.
All right. So somebody's saying that, is regression testing required for every update, fix, enhancement on a software?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, why I said that is because regression test doesn't mean that you are going back to rewrite. I don't know, I was answering this question yesterday in a meeting. Sorry, Adenike Basirat, you can go on mute. Thank you very much. Okay, we know you are dealing with alerts. Thank you very much. So, just like I was saying this yesterday to someone that regression testing doesn't mean that you are going back to rewrite the code from beginning to the end. Or regression testing means that for a manual tester, right? When you're talking about fixed updates, fix or update or enhancement, it means that there has been a change in the code. And because there's a change in the code in the login field, does not mean that that code cannot affect what is happening in the regression. So yes, whenever a regression, a fix or an update or an enhancement or anything is being done, as long as there is a change in that, as long as your developer goes back to touch that code, you're expected to do a regression test. Because a regression test is not focusing on, yes, if you have like done like a login and a register feature in an application, and it's fine. Then they said, oh, they don't want the login to be username, collecting details. They want them to be able to sign up with their Google form and all those things. You need to, Google account and all, you need to make sure that that code they are doing does not affect the login, because it can affect. You understand? So they might use like a generic identifier and a lot of things to just, that same identifier might have affected the login identifier as well. So you need to do regression test anytime there's an update done. As long as they touch that code, you need to do a test for it. I test as much as UI design. I test to make sure that the colors and buttons and all the icons that are being used are very, very consistent with each other. So in that place, even when the business owner comes down and says, no, this way we want purple and we want the button to be at the back of the app, you need to go back and check that, yes, can your customers actually use it? That is in a company where it's actually agile, not agile by title. You understand? So yeah, you need to do a regression test anytime a changes is made. That is just what I need. That's what I'm explaining.
All right. Thank you, Princess. I personally, for one, I don't think regression test is ever too much. You know, regression test is just, you checking again and you checking that, a fix or an update has not caused an harm into the system. So it never gets too much. You can just keep testing, keep regressing for, I personally do not think it ever gets too much. So that being said, someone is asking the difference between, is this smile testing or regression testing?
I think smoke testing and regression testing.
Okay, smoke testing and regression testing.
Collabo has talked about smoke testing earlier on. There is fire on the mountain, run. I will do smoke test most importantly when you are in two scenarios. They say you want to deploy in the next 30 minutes. Of course, you have done your functional test, you have done everything, performance, you have done everything is great and all. Smoke testing, you need to just quickly check it. Just do like a quick check through at that point to make sure that everything is still intact. You are not going back during smoke test to go and be doing regression testing. Regression testing is when you are still coding. They have done the fixes, they have done things, and you want to go and make sure that what you have tested previously in cycle 1 is not failing in cycle 2.
Yeah.
That's regression test. But in smoke testing, you are just checking to make sure that yes, everything is fine before you deploy. Or they said you have deployed, customers are using the application, they say, something break. Well, that test you quickly went to do at that feature is called smoke testing. Is you checking the fire that is happening, just like Kolako explained earlier. So then they are no longer coding. You understand? They just need to check what is happening. Then they can now go back to that development phase. So I don't know. Shay, you can wrap up that. Thank you.
Yeah, that's it. Smoke testing, there's smoke test like the title smoke. Like just checking sharply. It's not something. Regression is, there has been a change or something, or you even suspect something, and then you run the test all over again. But smoke testing, maybe deployment is closed, or maybe, it could even be something on production, and maybe your manager is telling you, please, can you quickly check the websites? All those sharp tests. That's basically smoke testing. So I think we come to the end of the question session. And if you guys have more questions, you can please drop on our social media platforms at Nigerian Testers. or you can drop on WhatsApp or Slack, or just drop it anywhere, or also drop your details in the form that is shared in the chat session, so that we can send the slides to this session to you, so that you don't lose out on what has been explained or what has been taught so far. So yeah, Princess, I think that's the end.
All right, thank you everyone for joining. I think that's it. Have a lovely day. Expect to see more of this coming soon. We can be doing another training that is focused on API testing or UI testing or UI automation. So just stick around and follow our social media, just like she has mentioned, to be updated. And lastly, which other announcements I would like to make? Yeah, for those that are interested in starting a career in software testing, you can check up testify.org.ng to see the application that is currently going on. And I think that's it. Thank you everyone for joining. Thank you, Kolako. Thank you, Toby. Thank you, Shei, for managing the program.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, bye.
Bye. Have a great day.
Have a great day.